Hello and welcome to Don't Feed the Geeks, presented by the Long Island Comic Guys, the masters of the geeky verse. Well, welcome back, Geek Freaks. I am TC, joined by, as always, by JJ.
What up? How are you?
No Toy Story today, guys. He had something to deal with. I think everything's going to be okay, but he can't be with us today, so it's just us for now. We'll jump in. I guess I'll take the geek beat. But our main topic today is super exciting. We will be joined later by John and Richard from Bronze and Modern Gods. We had an awesome conversation with them. They're two super cool guys. If you're not listening to their show, make sure you subscribe to that as well. Watch it after ours. They're good guys though. They have a lot of good information. Kind of a lot of the same stuff we're all saying. Be smart. A lot of good comic book advice out there. But before that, we will do the geek beat. And before we get into the geek beat, though, we want to make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, turning your alerts on so you know when you get your new episodes. Hit those thumb up likes. Message us in the comment section if you have an opinion on anything we talked about, or you can reach out to us on Instagram at LI Comic Guys or at Don't Feed the Geeks Podcast. We're pretty active on all of them, and on Facebook as well. All right, with all the corporate.
That was excellent. That was really good. You did that in one breath. It was awesome.
Yeah, I've been practicing that. I sit in front of the mirror while my wife yells at me so that I have background noise.
Perfect.
So with that being said, we've gotten all the corporate jargon out of the way. We're going to jump into the Geek Beat. And I think what we're going to start with, so we're going to try and get the negative stuff out of the way first. So we recently heard that Lucasfilm has released a statement regarding Gina Carano. If you don't know who she is, she was playing, what was the name of the character on Star Wars?
The big bad bitch. I don't know. She was
awesome. She made some social media posts that people weren't happy about. And they said that she's not. I will tell you the exact quote. They said that, and this is Lucasfilm, she is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there are no plans for her to be in the future. So I think some of the things that she said, in my personal opinion, I think she was trying to send a positive message, but kind of used some bad examples of trying to spread that message, and it came off the wrong way. And hopefully she can clarify what she meant, or what she really thinks in the future, and maybe they can get it sorted out. Cara Dune.
I was just about to say, because we need more Cara Dune. It was such a great character, and it's sad.
But we'll see what happens. But I guess kind of following that, recently, I don't know if you know who Charisma Carpenter is.
I have no idea. Who is this girl?
She played, I don't know if did you ever watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Not enough to know who. I mean, I know who Sarah Michelle Gellar were.
Yeah, she played Cordelia. So Charisma Carpenter, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Michelle Trachtenberg, they kind of came out and were making these claims, kind of like on the on the cusp of, well, I don't know if it's the cusp or on the behind all these statements that Ray Fisher's been making about how Joss Whedon's very unprofessional, and he has kind of an abusive relationship with a lot of the actors he works with. So, that's another thing coming out on Joss Whedon. So it could be that there might be some water or weight to, the kind of guy he is. And I think he was just recently removed from a project he was working on for HBO Max too. So it seems that, he can make pretty decent shows and things that people like, but he's kind of a jerk. So, but hopefully allegedly at this point. So hopefully we find out more about that. I feel like when it's like one person, it's one thing, but when you have like the waves of people starting to come out, it gets tough to really like patch that allegedly thing onto someone, which stinks because he seems to have a talent for the industry.
Yep.
But
agreed.
It is what it is. All right, so you guys in the comic book community probably already know Keanu Reeves is making this book Berserker. We'll talk about it later with John and Richard. There's going to be probably about 10 billion copies of that. But to add to the Keanu Reeves craze, there's a rumor floating around that he was approached by Sony to portray Kraven the Hunter. Now, it's not a bad pick. I like the look that he has. I would like him to get a little, more buffed up for it, but we'll see. The problem is that all this, Sony stuff not related to
the MCU.
The MCU. I don't know if they're going to fix that in the future, but I don't want to waste Keanu Reeves on just the solo movie of Kraven the Hunter. I mean, at the very least, it's got to have some relation to Spider-Man, but
yeah.
I mean, again, this is just a rumor, and it's kind of just floating around out there on the internet. Nothing's true until I see a preview, so that's my stance on it, or at least until it's announced.
I just don't. I think Sony should just let's offload this. Let's bring it all into Disney. I know it sucks, but
they get too much money. They're never going to let it go.
I know. It just it ruins so much other things behind the scenes with the movies and the stories, and it sucks.
No, you're right. It's the missing Marvel link that they really need because they have everything else but that.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. Pretty cool news here, though. So, 2 Game of Thrones alums and Pedro Pascal, who's literally riding the wave of fame right now. Aside from that, Wonder Woman catastrophe he was involved in. Him and Bella Ramsey, who I forgot the name, but I think she was the bear. Something. She was the young girl who was the head of her house in Game of Thrones. They're both going to be starring in the Last of Us series on HBO Max as Joel and Ellie. I've never played this game. I don't know, JJ, have you played it?
No, but Toy Story was a big fan of it. He played both of it. Yeah, and this girl, she was awesome.
Oh, she was a fantastic young actress.
She became the queen of her family.
Yeah. It was really cool.
Oh, that's going to be exciting. Yeah, I don't know much about the story. I've been wanting to play the game, but it's hard to pick up the first game because it's all sold out everywhere. Because when the second one came out, everybody went out and bought the first one. But yeah, apparently from what Toy Story is, it's a fantastic game. Great story and everything else.
Yeah, I may actually check this out because I'm really starting to enjoy it. I mean, I've always enjoyed Pedro Pascal for the most part, but those two together sound like something
awesome.
May want to watch, unless it's zombie related, and then I'm not interested.
I don't think so. I don't know.
All right, so I think we have a few more HBO Max things. So the Peacemaker, that show with John Cena, it's going to be a series on HBO Max as well, has a premiere of January 2022. So I guess it's kind of maybe done already, or they're just working on editing, but it seems like...
Do you know anything about the Peacemaker character? I mean...
I don't. So I'm really bad with DC, and especially obscure DC. I think probably the only person that I know that'd be able to tell us that is probably either Jeff or Zach. So yeah, I don't know much about him. He looks kind of like Bullet Man.
There's a few movies I've seen John Cena in. They've always been comedy driven somewhat.
I mean, these definitely are going to probably be the same thing. I don't think this would be a serious character. Suicide Squad in general too is just a mix of violence and comedy. It never really has a super serious aspect to it. So I think that's probably going to follow the same thing. It's probably going to be over exaggerated comedy at least.
Interesting.
And then the last bit of kind of HBO Max related news. So photos and kind of, I guess, a video clip of Superman in his black costume for Zack Snyder's Justice League and pictures of Jared Leto as a Joker have been circulating on the interwebs. So, I mean, I don't know how much longer it is. Apparently, we're getting a full trailer on the 14th, which was yesterday.
Just release this movie already. Just get it. Let's just release it. I'm so tired. I want to see it. I really want to just see it.
I'm at the same mind. I just want to see it, have it be over with in my life, and move on, kind of thing.
Stop with these extra images and trailers. I think we've already seen enough of that. Just release it. Let's start it. Let's go. I mean,
100%. I agree with you. And also another trailer we saw during the Super Bowl. I think it officially released, but the trailer for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So that's going to be streaming on March 19th, 2021. I didn't do the numbers, but it's probably very close to when WandaVision's going to end. So I'm actually super excited about that. I feel like every time I see like clips or like images of it, I get a total like Lethal Weapon vibe from it. I think it's going to be an awesome like buddy cop, drama, but throwing superheroes into the mix. But I really love it, like just like the dynamic between Falcon and Winter Soldier, where like he's like hanging underneath the truck, and like the Falcon's like, that little girl whooped your ass, and he goes, oh, shut up.
Again, let's just release it. Let's see this thing. Like,
yeah, everything's got to be there. And
All
then
right.
let's briefly talk about this last episode of WandaVision. So we're talking about episode 5, guys, not episode 6, which just came out Friday. We're recording this on Thursday, so we haven't watched it yet. But episode 4, huge reveal.
Wow.
What do you think? What were your first impressions, JJ?
I didn't expect, I tried to stay away from Facebook and the internet all day Friday because I watched WandaVision at night, close to 10 o'clock at night with my wife. So we watch it. So I tried to stay away. But, there's this one post I saw that caught my eye, and they had a picture of Fury. So I thought the whole day, I'm like, damn it, Fury is on this. Oh, my God. Like, why Fury? Because the whole sword scene at the end of the movie. So I went into this thinking like Fury was going to show up. But lo and behold, it's somebody on a totally opposite end of the spectrum. Like, no idea. Never thought in a million years we'd get somebody from the X-Men movie.
Yeah.
Like,
from the Fox X-Men movies.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I had to look up that character because, I didn't realize that there were 2 characters. So, because you separate the 2 movies. So, yeah, I knew there was a Quicksilver in Avengers. He died, whatever, brother, but totally lost focus of the Quicksilver that was on the X-Men. So that kind of brought a lot of questions to my mind. One being like, how did they make this happen? After reading, after the show, a lot of people are now saying that, that's not him. It could be this other guy because, his image doesn't show up in the mirror when they pan on that.
I saw those too.
I hate the speculation part of all this because now, as of this today, I was reading that, what's his, Mephisto?
Mephisto, yeah.
He may not even be in this.
Yeah, so
that's the new thing I read today. Going, what's like, stop, like this brain scanning blow up in my mind. Like, stop with this.
So the spoiler alert here is Evan Peters, who portrayed Quicksilver in the Days of Future Past, and I think the following X-Men films. I don't think I've seen any of the ones after Age of Apocalypse. He was in that one too.
Yep.
He appears at the end as her brother. And the best part about it is Darcy actually says, "Oh my God, did they recast Pietro?" And like, I love that part.
That was funny.
But so somebody on another podcast, or I think it was a comic dealer, I think he does a YouTube show as well. I'm sorry, I don't know. I can't remember his name. He did some research, and apparently there's some character name, and I'm gonna look at my notes here. Chthon. It's Chthon. He appeared in Avengers 186, and I guess he possesses Wanda. So now people are saying and again, with that hand thing that you saw and the gray hand, which I think looks like it could just be BS anyway. It could be like a boom mic maybe. Apparently everyone's specking that it's this guy now. I mean, no matter what, if Mephisto shows up in this or, Doctor Strange, Mephisto's coming.
Yeah. And, watching it, even the scene where she comes walking out of the dome part, does her little thing, and then as she's walking in, like the whole dome turns red, and then that's kind of because I know this Mephisto, everything's red with him. He's red in color,
and kind of like a devilish character.
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of like she was him, like he like changed his form into her, and that red was part of his, I don't know, aura, whatever it was. So, that started making sense, but then started reading all this other garbage out there. Who the hell knows now? Like, it could be anybody.
It really could, and it's fun, and I think the people who create these and do these, and Kevin Feige maybe specifically, he probably likes to have fun with this. And like, we're just going to screw with people, which, I mean, to a certain degree, I really do like this part of it. Like, watching it and trying to, because I'm like, and my wife hates me because of this, because I watch something and I'm like picking it apart as I'm watching it. I'm not the type of person who just sits back. I don't know. Like, I would love to be, but like, I'm sitting there and I'm picking things apart like the whole time. And I'm just like, I need to figure it out what's going on. It's like like trying to detective work it, and they're keeping me guessing. Like I don't know what's coming, so it's really cool.
I've got the problem of I got to look everything up, and looking things up. Like I didn't know a lot about the Scarlet Witch, her background. Like I knew she was the daughter of Magneto, but then that begs like you totally forget that she was a mutant back in the comic books, where in the MCU she wasn't. Was she a mutant?
I think what people are saying is they're going to find out that her powers were more mutant related than they were. Yeah. So it was just like, they called them like the special ones or something like that, or like, I forgot how that guy from Hydra describes them. But,
I like the whole fact like they're changing everything. Like they're literally changing the story on us, which is great. I love that.
Yeah.
Just to bring in that hopefully the X-Men.
Oh, they're coming. I mean, this is basically the first X-Men we got. They're here basically. The X-Men are here,
which are great.
It's going to be awesome. I think the more that they put this world together, and again, like we said, Spider-Man's really the only missing piece here, and we have him for the most part, but we don't have him fully. But this is it. We have the entire universe, which is great, and I can't wait to see more. And this show has been, I know you were like a little on the fence about it in the beginning, but it's just been so amazing, like what they've been able to do with this show. It's just incredible, like from the sitcom to like the point where she like walks out of the dome, like you were saying before, and ever since the last episode where they bring Darcy in, and the other guy, what's his name, is it Woo?
Yeah, Jimmy Woo,
Jimmy Choo
or whatever. I love him.
He's so great. He's apparently going to get his own show, and I can't wait for it, like an X-Files type show.
Yeah.
Where he goes on to different things. Another thing they mentioned though is there's a character she called like that she knows, like some astro engineer or something. So people are now specking there's this other guy, like, oh, is it Rhodey, or is it, they're saying that there's this Blue Atom or something like that, or I don't, it's been a book that's been hot for a while. I can't remember like what his name is specifically. I'll put it down here so you can see, but yeah, he could be that. That's the other interesting part of the episode. I want to know who it was that she called to, like, try and figure out what was going on. But yeah, all good stuff. We'll give you an update next time when we're caught up to episode 6. And was there two left? I'm also hearing they're going to surprise us with like another episode as well. Like they're not telling us there's going to be like an additional episode than they already released.
Bring it on.
We'll see. All right, well, that's a wrap for the Geek Beat. Hopefully I stood in well for Toy Story. And next, we're going to move over to our interview with Bronze and Modern Gods. All right, guys, we are very excited to introduce our guests today. Yes, that's right, 2 guests from Bronze and Modern Gods, John and Richard.
John.
Richard, welcome to the show.
Every time.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Is it it's always opposite, right?
Yeah, it's always opposite. That's how I remember.
Thank you so much for joining, guys. We've been looking forward to doing this for a while.
Well, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
So normally how we like to start these out with our new guests especially is to kind of get your like origin stories in the world of geekdom or comic collecting, whatever that kind of initial bug was that, kind of like bit you and you couldn't get out ever since. So who wants to start? We'll go with the closest to me. Like, John, how about you start?
Well, it started in kindergarten. I was in kindergarten, like everyone else, 5 years old. Hopefully, unless you're one of those weirdo homeschooled people, children of the corn. Sorry. And I was on the playground during recess, and I found a tattered, beat up copy of Captain America number 155. And the cover, yeah, I'm old. The cover fascinated me. It was Captain America fighting Captain America, and I didn't understand it. And I looked around, nobody was there to claim it. I put it in my back pocket and went right back to class after recess. And I read that thing until it was tatters. I didn't quite understand it. Of course, in hindsight, it's the final part of this long Steve Englehart saga. They weren't big on recaps back then. But something about it really stuck with me. And to this day, Captain America is my favorite character.
That's awesome. That's a great one. That's probably one of the best ones we've had so far, to be honest.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you still have that? Do you still have that book?
I have a copy of Cap 155. I do not. No, the original. I was in the Army when I was 19 to 22, and while I was in the Army, my mom decided to have a garage sale.
Moms always get to them.
43 long boxes, all my vinyl 12-inch mixes, rare stuff. It's an age-old story.
My parents did the same thing when I went into the military. Sold everything. Like, what the hell?
Love it. You have a son in the military. Great. Let's get rid of his crap.
God. I feel you. Been there, done that.
Standard issue, huh?
Well, I think that's where my collecting bug reignited, because I was like, okay, I'm going to rebuild all this. And I not to take away from Richard's story real quick, but I rebuilt it twice since then and completely sold them. So I'm always rebuilding.
Good.
Sounds fun.
Richard.
Oh, me?
Richard,
okay.
Richard, your turn.
All right.
Finally.
My comic book love started when my father wanted to keep me busy. I remember he was visiting his friends, and he did this on a regular basis, and I went with him, and he handed me a stack about yay tall of Legion of Superheroes and adventure, and action magazines. They're all DC books. It's just a stack. Some of them had covers, some of them didn't, and to me, it really didn't matter. It was the golden age for Legion of Superheroes with Matter Eater Lad and Bouncing Boy, and I was just completely fascinated. I read those books over and over and over and over and again. And that's awesome. When I must have been around, like John, in probably about 9 years old, let's say. When I got older and I was in high school, this is in the early 80s, when it was the age of Byrne and Claremont doing the X-Men. I got into the collecting again. I actually was collecting as opposed to just reading at that point. So I was buying Fantastic Four, and I was buying X-Men, and I was buying Superman, and I was buying all the big books back then, Wolverine and things like that. But I was also buying because my LCS, the guy who ran it, was literally ran out of a guy's garage. He was big into the independent books, so Love and Rockets, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all those kinds of Fantagraphic books, and it was just amazing. I was reading those as well as the Marvel and the DC books, and then life happened, and I ended up getting out of comic books, and I ended up like dating, and things along those lines, and had this horrible session with Magic the Gathering, and then a few years ago, I got the impetus to my mom's house where I had all my comic books. We were trying to clean it out, so I went into the attic and I pulled out 6 dingy long boxes full of my comics from when I had collected from when I was in high school. And I pulled those out and I looked at them and I realized immediately an attachment I had to them. And I took those to my house and we rebagged and reboarded all of them. And I looked and realized some of these things were worth a lot of money, So it got me interested in values of books, and I started looking at the values of books. And I've always been a numbers guy. I've always been someone who likes to process things. So, looking at prices of books and figuring out grades and calculating all that stuff that I do now came about from my reconnecting to comic books. And it's just such an interesting hobby. You meet so many interesting people, and that's what keeps me interested in it right now.
That's
Cool.
awesome.
Cool.
It's funny what you said. You meet like so many interesting people. We've met so many people, locally, like just through our area. But because of like COVID and everything, we've been forced to like, get a lot more electronic, do like a lot of this connecting, online on Instagram. And we've like the touch has like gone so much further. I mean, between like, getting involved with Elite and what they've been doing, checking out other people's, lives. I've checked out your guys' lives a few times. We Can Be Heroes. We've checked out their lives. It's and even, we mentioned before Minor Keys. We've met like so many different people that we probably like, we were on Instagram and active before, but we weren't really like actively like trying to connect like we are now, which has been really great to grow the community, coast to coast.
Yeah, it's a great community. I mean, I can't mention anyone that I've met who just hasn't been warm and welcoming and eager to share information. And it's just different personalities and different types of people, but they all have that same undercurrent of just a community, and that's what I find really fascinating.
It's funny you mentioned how pandemic started all this and kind of kick-started going outside of your own community, because Richard and I actually went to a huge comic book show in Southern California in January of last year, the California Comic-Con, and we were there and shopping around and going from booth to booth. And it was just so funny to me because we're going from booth to booth and Richard's like, that's Jeff. He's the golden age guru. And I'm like, guru. And I don't know what he's like, oh, Instagram. There's a whole bunch of people on Instagram. I'm like, whatever, and then March happens and I'm like, what's this Instagram thing you're talking about?
So quickly, how did you guys connect? Because Richard was telling us he's from Ohio, and you're from California, right, John?
I am from Ohio. I grew up.
You are originally from Ohio.
Richard and I actually met at a comic book store that I managed, and this is, I won't. This is a great story. Trust me. Comic book store that I managed started out as a hobby for a guy who had a meat market, a butcher. He was a butcher, and he had a butcher shop. He sold meats, baker's meats, and he loved comic books and especially Superman. So he was collecting, and he got tired of paying retail, so he started an account with Capital City back in the day, so he can get a discount. And he thought, you know what, I'm going to set up a rack and just become a direct sales distributor in this little town in Ohio that we were from. Wow. And I was one of his early customers. And after a while, I graduated high school, and he's like, do you want to work for me? And I said, sure. So I was doing the comic books out of the meat market with Richard as one of the customers. Wow. And I'm like trying to sell Richard like the best stuff. I'm like, Flaming Carrot, you got to be reading this. American Flag, you got to read this. And by the way, would you like a pound of sausage? It literally was like that sometimes. We have the best Munster cheese right now.
Real sausage, right? Not metaphor.
Exactly. It was great. It was a great Jewish deli. I mean, it was raw. It was great. And the comic books grew and grew. And so eventually he let me do a storefront, and I was running the store. And Richard and I were like hanging out and talking comic books. And it gets even weirder. We like the same kind of music, alternative music, industrial, like Front 242 and Old Ministry.
Nice. All Ministry is Old Ministry.
Yeah, not the thrash, good Ministry, like Twitch. And there was this nightclub, this alternative nightclub called the Nine of Clubs. I'm like, Richard, you got to come check this nightclub out. And what happened when you started going to that nightclub, Richard?
I met my wife. So yeah, John is directly responsible for me meeting my wife and getting married and the kids. And but no, it's we went to the same nightclub. he got me turned on to, because I was not into nightclubs at the time, but I was into the music. So we got into, we went to the nightclub, we had a good time. Then all of a sudden somebody leaves and goes away.
I'm joining the army.
Yeah.
I mean, Richard was probably the most brilliant man I had ever met at that point. He was in with computers early. I mean, while the rest of us had like TRS 80s, Richard was like building his own mainframes in his and he was really successful, and that's great. But if you're from our small town and you weren't in computers or you didn't have that knowledge, you had two choices: go work at the Ford factory or leave. So I joined the army, and I was a broadcaster, radio and TV broadcaster, just like Good Morning Vietnam.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, but in Korea.
Okay.
And so I left him. Bye.
But that's not the end of your comic book dealing history, is it, John?
No, not at all. When I was in the army, I took a part-time weekend job at a store called Adventure Comics and Cards in Monterey, California. Helped them run that and opened two branches there. They wanted me to stay when I got out of the army. I'm like, no, I'm going to school. And I came back. I got a job at a radio station. I don't like doing one thing. I have to do like 9 things. So I was working full-time at the radio station, going to school at night. And then I thought, I'm going to open a comic book store on top of all that. So I opened my own store, Astonish Comics and Cards. You always wanted to start it with the letter A, so your first list. And it did well. It did well, but it got to be too much. So I sold the store after about 1.5 years.
Where was that at?
Elyria, Ohio. That sound you hear is a tumbleweed.
So you opened up the comic book shop back in Ohio.
Yes, and I was directly competing with the meat man, my former boss. And I can tell you some horror stories. This is an episode of our podcast where I go into a lot of the horror stories. But there was a competitor like 2 blocks from me, and he played dirty. He would send kids in. They stole my phone. It was like a bad Kevin Smith movie. That's redundant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Wow.
So, but that's having that shop. I mentioned, I came and visited you there, and you're also selling magic cards back then.
Yeah. I wish I had that stock, man. I had all the original unsealed or sealed boxes. I carried all, those Marvel cards that everybody's going nuts for? I had case after case in the back room that I couldn't move to save my life. I see X-Force #1. I don't know if you guys are going to get into this later. I see X-Force #1 selling for $25. I want to take a shotgun. You think?
Well, funny enough, our next topic is comic book trends or the market trends. So let's just go into like the stuff that's going crazy right now. Like the cards specifically, like I've noticed the sports cards the last few months had really been skyrocketing, probably since like the beginning of last year. But these Marvel cards, like this has been like weeks. We're talking like I've noticed this like craziness exploding. And is there any source? Do we have a reason?
Well, we've been watching Marvel cards. John, you alerted us to Marvel cards to full sets over a year ago.
Yeah.
To keep an eye out, because dealers specifically, didn't have any idea of how these cards were valued. Now they've been sitting in their, in their display cases probably for years. And I think what's happened though recently, and the same thing that's hit sports card is people they have no other avenue for entertainment. So a lot of things that just a year ago may not have been as exciting to collect are just their only real avenue. So people are collecting sports cards. I know just buying a box of sports cards nowadays is almost impossible. And the same thing with these Marvel cards. People right now, the impetus for the X-Force books is, of course, the Deadpool card that's there. So, and a high grade Deadpool card is worth $200, right, John? We saw that kind of price up in eBay.
I just saw a tweet from a guy we don't talk about on our show about everybody's talking about these Deadpool cards. It's crazy. He's tweeting this like all the time.
I think there is some legitimacy to the cards. And like Richard said, a year ago, I flagged a couple of them, like the later ones, like the 96, 95 Boris, Vallejo cards. Nobody ordered them because cards were dead at that point. Marvel had bought Fleer, had driven it into the ground. So those are truly scarce. I do think the first set of Marvel Universe cards from 1990, there's something there with the holograms and everything, because if you were a dealer and a year ago someone came into your shop and tried to sell you those cards, you would have kicked them out and said, why are you bringing those into my store? And if you say, no, I would have bought them, you're a liar. And because of that, people like me who had multiple sets, I threw them all away years ago. Nobody saved those. They may have saved some of the later sets that were cooler, like the Marvel Masterpieces by Joe Jusko and Greg Hildebrand and people like that. But that first set where, here's a Sal Buscema drawing of Cosmic Spider-Man, who's saving that? So I
definitely have some of the Masterworks ones. I don't have any of the other ones.
Right over here, I have a binder of the Boris Vallejo painting cards because I just love the art, and I saved those.
Those are cool.
Yeah, that first set, it was like stock art, no one cared. So I think there's something there.
This Deadpool card, they're claiming it's the second appearance of Deadpool.
I know.
It's just...
Okay, you're going to go that way. Was he in Wizard or a fanzine?
Don't even go there.
You're going to go down that road.
Previous 95 route. No, let's not do that.
The other excuse for it being $200 is some of them just aren't centered perfectly. Can I say blow me? Do you guys?
Yeah, you can.
Sure.
Blow me.
I think that's valid in that situation.
I saw it on Facebook, but somebody posted.
He meant a balloon. Blow him a balloon.
It was the Hulk 181 cover card, and it sold for like $6,000. It was graded. Beckett's graded. I think it was a 9 or a 10, but it was like $5,000 or $6,000 for this card, and it sold. Like, who's buying this?
We don't need new stimulus checks.
Apparently not.
People are swimming in cash right now, like Uncle Scrooge in his basement.
But none of this stuff, this is not going to be worth $6,000 in 5 years. Nope. If you're going to spend $6,000, spend it on something that's going to be worth something. Buy a early Fantastic Four. That's where your value is going to be. These fads, like I call these cards, are going to lose favor as soon as people have some other alternative besides shopping on the internet.
I mean, you're thinking this like vacation money, travel money, buying new stuff to go do something, adventure sports style. This is where all that money is just sitting in people's accounts. I was telling, we were having like a conversation just amongst our group the other day, and I was like, think about like just the last 10 years in comic books specifically. How many characters that came out within the last 10 years do you think 10 more years from now people are gonna give a crap about? Maybe Miles, Spider-Gwen. After that, I don't even know. And Spider-Gwen was a stretch, and it's just like I see one character out of the past decade worth holding on to, and I see you have a few behind you. I have one or two also, but it's just.
As a fan of Red X, I'm very offended. I just think there is. I know I just took a big dump on the card thing, with the exception of the first and last sets. I do think there's legitimacy there. But I do think, we have a segment on our show called the 25-year rule, which is where nostalgia kicks in for what you loved 25 years ago or longer. And we got a bunch of kids now that were, I say kids, people that were around in the 90s and bought these cards, and they're in their 40s now, and they're a little flush. They're not, like you said, they're not flying anywhere. They're not doing anything. So they're chasing childhood. They're like me. They're rebuilding. I'm always rebuilding my childhood.
Always.
Yeah.
I do think we're having real talk here. I think there is going to be a reckoning once people get vaccinated. The virus goes down, people get back out and about again. I think live sales are going to dry up a lot. Mm-hmm. You see books that if you went to a show, they're dollar bin books. They're selling for $5-7 on live sales. And I'm sitting back like, that's interesting. That's not going to happen once shows are back on.
It's true.
Right.
I do agree with you. I think there's going to be, just added to that, I think there'll be a little trickle. Like you'll start seeing it slowly. But I agree, once things really start within like the next, I would say 2 to 3 years, by then I think we'll be full blown, like, people are really more comfortable doing things. I do like, because right now I'm like, I'm sitting there and I look at books and it's just like, and we just did a whole episode last about, buyer beware. And it's just like, yeah, you can, you can blame the seller for charging this high price. And yeah, they're going to get what's coming to them eventually. Is like, but you're the one who's paying that price. You're the one who can't be patient and be like, this book last month was $1,000 less with no reason why it's $1,000 more this month. I mean, the December to January prices was astounding, the difference.
Star Wars. Look at all the Star Wars books. Like, what the hell?
Lived through this. We've lived through this already. We've seen it.
It's scary.
And I'm telling you, I was sounding the alarm on the podcast about a month ago. I'm sounding it even more. X-Force 1 with the Deadpool cards selling for $25 is the inflection point for me.
Yeah,
it's the shark jumping the shark.
And you're not the only ones. Yeah.
Fonzie's sailing over Jaws right now. Because I'm sorry, one last point. At Adventure Comics and Cards, where I was a manager, I was there when X-Force 1 came out. When I left 2 years later to go back home, we had, I'm not crapping you guys at all, 63 unopened cases of X-Force #1 sitting in the back room. I didn't do the ordering. 63 unopened cases. That's 3 stores in Salinas and Monterey, California. Multiply that by how many stores were around in the 90s. That's not a rare, scarce thing. But the card's not centered.
we have a local shop here, and I mean, last Christmas they do this big Christmas raffle, and they get like 50, 60 people in the shop during this whole Christmas raffle. And if you're complaining or if you're too loud, he'll take a box of those X-Force and just start throwing them at you just to beat you up. I mean, he's throwing them at everybody. They were garbage, and I can only imagine how much John. How many more boxes? He probably has thousands.
I mean, he had those Masterworks, the uncuts. Remember that whole frame he had?
Yeah.
Of the uncut cards too. Like somebody walked away with that. I don't know.
Use it like bounty,
Basically.
Yeah. But John, we had a recent show. We talked about FOMO, and I think that's driving a lot of it too.
Yeah.
I think Marvel and DC have realized that psychologically they have their community over a barrel, and they release these, made up events or characters. First appearance of so and so, and so and so is not going to be around in 6 months, but people are afraid of not buying first appearance of so and so, and then they don't want to. They go out and buy the 1 in 10 and the 1 in 25 and the 1 in 50, and then we're going to print second print's going to be so and so's cover, but with a blue text. And this is the laziest thing ever. And people go and buy it, and it's okay. Well, while you're still buying that, we're coming out with third print with red text. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that with Spider-Man, this Amazing Spider-Man 55. It is the laziest thing in the world.
I mean, I am guilty of that one for sure.
I am too. Trust me. I'm saying it's lazy, but I still buy them.
Yeah.
I'll defend the original cover. I think the original cover was, you saw it, you were arrested, like, wow, that's cool. I think it is iconic. I do think 55 will hold its value. Do I think the light teal version will? No. Do I think the magenta chartreuse versions will? Probably not. But who, to your point, Richard, in 10 years, who's going to be excited about the designer? Who's going to, a clown hunter?
Right.
And I'm not picking on Batman specifically. I guess I am, but
but you're right. I mean, these are to me, they're manufactured characters to draw off this extra cash that people have. Mm-hmm. And we talked about what Stabitha. I can never remember her name. I always call her
Punchline.
Punchline. Her longevity is to me in doubt. And there's a lot of movement, people buying her first appearances, but again, I see both of the publishers manufacturing characters and second and third print runs while they're still selling the first, and it's it's crazy, and it's not going to survive. I mean, in 10 years, like you say, no one's going to care about the designer.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, people, including me, have been buying up those kinds of books, as opposed to, in my opinion, the better investment with your money is buying Silver Age or Bronze Age keys, because once all this stuff clears, once everybody goes back to basketball games and playing in the park, and real life starts up again, and all these people who have come because they've got nowhere else to go really to the collection hobby disappear. Those are going to be the ones that's still going to have value. We as collectors are still going to buy X-Men 101, and they're going to buy Fantastic Four #1, and those are the things that are blue chip, and they're going to retain their value. So I think people need to start thinking now about, like John says, X-Force is the jumping of the shark. I think you need to start now to think about where your collection is going to be in 5 years, and start thinking about putting your money there, as opposed to the most recent stuff coming off of FOC.
Yeah.
So to button it up for trends, I think the trend right now for us is there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We can all see it now, so you better start preparing for it. If you've got a stack of Venom 25 still, well, I don't know.
Right
You
there.
might want to convert those to a Fear #20 for Solo Morbius or something.
Yeah, I've been trying to clear out as much modern as possible to make room for silver and bronze. And I know a lot of people say this, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, collect what you love." I was like, "Yes, but also be smart about it.
Right.
Collect what you love, but put a little thought into it. Don't spend $1,000 on like a 1 in 100 variant of a character that
Keanu Reeves
first appearance, and then some guy who's a comic book peddler is like, oh no, his first appearance was actually in this magazine that we have 6,000 copies of.
Yeah. Well, JJ mentioned Star Wars,
Yeah.
and I think that's a good example. There are certain key characters in Star Wars that you can put your money behind, like you see Star Wars 42 with the first Boba Fett. Thank you. Those are important, but there are all these Star Wars extended universe characters. Darth Momo. And people are specking on some of these really obscure, in my opinion, characters. There are some good ones to spec on. I think Ahsoka Tano is a good one, because we know she's going to show up in DC Plus, the Disney Plus universe. Right. But some of these other ones, Revan, I think, is an example. Revan, however you pronounce this, is an example of one that may be really popular, but that doesn't mean that you're going to see them in the MCU at any time, or the Disney Plus universe. So maybe you don't buy 4 or 5 copies of that. You buy one for yourself, and then spend your money on something else.
I thought of another jumping shark moment that's just happened. The friggin' Keanu Reeves $2,000 1 in 1,000 BS whatever. That book is going to be this generation's Nightcat #1, or Dazzler #1. But Dazzler's worth more, I think. Why?
It's such a shame too, because I think it's actually going to be a pretty good story. Like, it seems like semi-interesting, but now there's like 100 billion of them being printed. So
it's got a huge print run. $1,000. You can buy a low grade Hulk 181, by the way, which is a warehouse find book, not a Scares book, by the way. So it's frustrating to me. I say this stuff in a snarky way, but I say it because I love the fact that people are excited. I love the fact there are new people in the hobby. But we saw what happened in the 90s. New people came in, they got excited, they bought a bunch of crap thinking it was going to put their kids through college. And then when it didn't, they left. And we almost lost an industry. And I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah, there's definitely people combination getting taken advantage of, and then just kind of riding the wave at the same time. And that's the thing too. We harp on it all the time. We want this hobby to flourish. Like, we're here. We're going to sell a couple comics every once in a while, but we're selling comics to buy more comics. It's not like we're not selling comics to like, hey, I'm going to go out and like get a motorcycle and drive around the block.
I know. We just have a live sale, and the money, as the money's coming in, I'm going, oh man, I could buy this comic or I could buy that one. You're right.
Yeah, I'm like live selling while watching another live sale, and I'm buying as I'm selling.
It's all very exciting until you have to ship it. Then you realize, this guy bought.
That is really the worst part. We for the last one we did, we just sat at the table, all of us, and we just started banging it out like a conveyor belt. It was pretty impressive. I think it was almost more impressive than actually selling the books.
That was a late night.
Yeah. I tell you, the other thing that worries me is you have companies that are soliciting books that are intentionally low print runs and trying to get people whipped up into a frenzy. And, if you don't buy it, you're going to miss out, and we're not going to reprint it. Valiant, Triumphant. I can name all these companies that did the same. Triumphant, and no one even remembers them. They used to number their books individually on the front cover with a little serial number. And it never works out that way. If your book is that bad that you have to sell it like that in order to get people excited instead of it being a genuinely good story, maybe you shouldn't be publishing it. I say it's a bad idea.
Yeah,
that's the name of the company.
So
I'm going to get a DM tomorrow, I'm sure.
Let's cover a couple of other things that we wanted to talk to you guys about. So there's like other like different things that they like to throw at these books now. So what do you guys think about like the whole newsstand and like price variant thing? I feel like the price variant thing has been there for a while. The newsstand has definitely grown more popular the last maybe 2 to 3 years, I would say.
Price variants I'm a sucker for because I was there when the 35-cent variants were discovered. I mean, those came out in 5 metropolitan areas only, and people didn't even know about them until like about 5-10 years after the fact, when they're like, wait a second, how come yours says 30 cents and mine says 35? And so that one's truly exciting. I actually do chase a few of the Captain America 35-cent variants. Canadian price variants, sure. Newsstand versus direct, it depends. If you're talking 1979, if you're talking May 1979, the birth of the direct market versions are rarer than newsstand versions.
I've talked about like 90%.
5% of the print run were direct sales at that point. 1986, you see a shift where it becomes 50-50. The argument, newsstand books are more beat up, and people didn't say them. That's a load of hooey. I bought newsstand books since I was 5 years old in 1973, and I made sure they were, bagged and boarded and carefully taken care of. I mean, so I've seen really crappy direct sales books.
Yeah, we're going to have a whole episode on that. And my entire argument, I found that same article. And then like after 1992, the numbers shift dramatically. Sure. So if you want to get a 90s book, I understand that. People I see like going for these like 80s books is like, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
I can tell you a harrowing story about a newsstand edition.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a big Miles collector. And Miles, Ultimate Fallout #4 was, Miles' big book. And I actually started buying those a long time before he got popular. I remember, John, I came across a stash of them of second print, and I was sharing. It was just, I think it was $5. Gave me $5 for it. I stuck it in the box amongst other things. So, when as he started to get popular, I decided to collect all different variants of them. And the newsstand was by far the hardest to come by. They say it's 5% of the print run for Ultimate Fallout 4. It's really, really rare. It came up very rare on auction. And at one point, there was one available. I had seen only 3, and the other 2 got away from me. This one came up. I decided I was going to buy it, and spent $967 on this book, which is not the most expensive that I've paid for a book, but definitely the most expensive for a raw. And, at the time it made it into, certain other news sources as being the high price book. And at the time I thought, part of me was thinking I'm insane to spend that much money. Remember, this is before the newsstand really took off. The following week after I got the book, we started to see the ultimate fallout effect from Miles Morales, where we had this perfect storm of, diversity awareness and Spider-Verse of, fever. And later on we had the video game and all that. So my $967 at the time was a lot. Now the book is, 4 times that number easily. Just in the span of, this was a year, it wasn't even a year.
Not even a year. It's May.
Yeah, May. Yeah. That this book is just, and there's a whole conversation about Miles and his role in the future of comics and the future of movies, and potentially.
I mean, I got mine like March, literally. I think it was at the first. We're really close with the people at Royal Collectibles, and that was like the first Remedy tour stop. So after the sale, I called up Mike. I was like, listen, let me know. Like, I actually got the Avengers 4 and that book. I was like, listen, what are we gonna do for these books? I want them both, and I got them. And he was even like, I don't know if I want to sell this one. I feel like it's gonna get hot, and it's just like. I mean, it like you said, probably 4 times as much. Do you still have that newsstand raw, by the way, or did you get it graded?
I got it graded. It came back at 9.0. Okay. So it's on the wall back there. Also on the wall is my Djevik variant that I bought for $850. And at the time it's signed by Bendis, and I got it cheap because the case was cracked, and people are afraid of cracked cases. As long as I can see the damage is it's someplace safe, I'll buy it all day long, and then $15 later, I got a new case, and that's basically what happened.
That's great.
So
yeah, I had one of those laying in a box. I didn't even know I had it. It was still wrapped in this plastic. I didn't know I had it. I think I was going through a box. I'm like, oh look, I have one.
The great karmic justice of Richard's story about buying a stack of the second print for $5 a piece. He bought them from the competitor that I had a block for you that on my phone.
That's true. That's true. I forgot about that. Yeah, definitely.
It took 25 years, but I got revenge.
Yeah.
That's great. So I think we touched on this a little bit too. So there's a lot of people out there. I guess we'll call them influencers, and they do like their lists, and they have lots of lists, and they're telling the community kind of like what's hot, what's not. What are your guys' thoughts? Because we've shared our thoughts plenty on it. Yeah. I'm curious to get other people's thoughts on it.
I'm stocking up on Mystic 15.
You may notice that we don't do top 10 lists.
Yeah, we've stayed away from it too. First of all, it's not something that's interesting to us. I mean, if we would do it,
it's entertaining. Don't get me
wrong. It is. I feel like if you did it though, you'd just we'd just get so fatigued from it.
Right.
I think I love a good top 10 list. I love a good BuzzFeed listicle. I think it's entertaining. I think it's where are you coming from?
Yeah.
Excuse me, is the most important part. If you're coming from a true excited place.
Yeah.
Sorry. If you're coming from a true excited place and you're just sharing information, great. But I have a real problem, and I've talked about this on the podcast, when people say, oh, its sales are up 300%. That is a meaningless metric.
Yep.
Because that means you could have had one sale last week, and now this week you have 3. That's 300%.
Yep.
So if you're going to throw out numbers and get excited and try to get people riled up, throw out the actual numbers. There were 25 sales last week, and now there are 58, so it's up 100%. My math is really bad. That part bugs me. I think I get it. I don't want to be too dismissive of it because it always comes off as sour grapes. I think there's something to be said for being there first and putting your flagpole in and hey, I more power. I mean, I'll call it out. Comic Tom, he was the first-ish. At least from what I see. Do I agree with everything he says? No. Do I think he was better a year ago before he started drinking 9 cups of coffee before he started recording? Absolutely.
Yeah, I there is, like you say, there's entertainment value in the top 10 list, top 5 list, whatever. We as human beings are drawn to people organizing things and presenting them to us. That's why you see all the different ads and people on. Just look on the internet and you see top 10 lists everywhere. I wait every week for the 3 different top 10 lists to come out. And we talked about this last show, where those top 10 lists, I hope people don't use them as shopping lists, because you don't buy books at their peak. You buy them, at their nadir, so at their lowest price. So to me, if they're on that list, they're either at their peak or they're close to it, and they are more, here's what you should have bought 3 months ago,
Right,
as opposed to
you've already missed the window if you're seeing it on this list and you don't have it.
right. What it's basically telling you is go and see if you can find this cheap. Don't buy it for the price they're telling you, because sometimes the LCS may have these books in stock, or even my favorite is going to LCSs that have books on the wall, and they've got a price on the book, and they just don't update it. So 6 months later, if you had a Miles book for $50 on the wall, 6 months later that book is worth 10 times the amount that you got it listed for. I'm buying it for $50 all day. So the top 10 lists should not be shopping lists, but I think they're interesting. They provide perspective, but you got to realize the people who make these lists are not, they're not mind readers, or they can't tell the future. So, and in some cases, the story they tell may not be like the whole Mystic. I think is problematic, because it's based on a lot of information that it really doesn't have a lot of basis in reality. But then again, if you're just reporting sales and sales numbers, then maybe that's valid. But yeah, don't use these top 10 lists anything more than guideposts and just ideas of where the market is today, not necessarily where you want to put your money.
Yeah, and we totally use these apps and like everything too, and we go buy them to kind of like see what's hot now. Hey, do I have this? But I think the thing is too is just like it's being a little bit more forthcoming about, hey, this is probably more a seller's tool than a buyer's tool at this point.
Yeah,
100%.
Just like listen, it's like, if you want to do this, absolutely. I think it's the kind of like shadowness that they're trying to be, and like the backstepping, and like, oh no, we're here for the community. It's like, hey, you're really here for the dealer.
I think you have to look at it like I do. I'm a little more forgiving than I used to be, because I'm like 1,000 years old. So I think you've got CNN. We pride ourselves as, or NBC News. That's a better one. That's a little less politically charged one. We're NBC News. Over here is Hannity. It's opinion, it's excitement, it's getting people riled up. Go buy this. This is great. It's entertainment. It's a carnival barker, and I don't hate it, because I kind of sit back in like a weird, perverse respect for it, because but I think maybe it needs a disclaimer in front of it, like
probably
really for entertainment purposes only.
But all these lists are entertainment. They're all opinion. There's none of these, unless you're looking at GPA numbers and directly reporting what the sales values are. It's all opinion. So you got to judge for yourself how much you trust the source.
And if you're selling your own mystery boxes and merch, that really taints it. Sorry, facts is facts.
And that's the thing we've said, is like, listen, at least from what we've been told, companies that do grading, they're not allowed to collect comic books. because it would be, they'd be going, there'd be a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Conflict of
A
interest.
conflict of interest. Yeah.
If you're
So,
Steve
I mean,
yeah,
when
if
you're
you're
telling, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, when you're telling people what's hot, and then meanwhile, like, oh, look at these, like, I have 25 coming into your mystery box, and like, that's a conflict of interest. It's like, maybe if you want to do this top 10 list, you shouldn't do the mystery box on top, or do one or the other. Or, it just seems like I was always got the vibe. I was very interested in like this whole thing in the beginning, and then I was getting the like used cars salesman vibe like very early on. And I was just like, and it was getting me angry, and then it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna stop watching. I was like, that's what it is. It's like, it's getting me riled up. I was like, I don't need to watch anymore. I'll have other people tell me, and sure, it's the word's gonna get out there when when they foul up big enough, like this mystic thing or other things.
There is a Stevie element to it that I don't like, and I think if you separated your commerce from your reporting, that would go a long way to make people feel a little bit better about it.
Agreed. Yeah.
Agreed. Yep.
All right, so we've talked about that for long enough. Let's move on. So one of the things that's really moving the market is all these like actual appearances in like movies and TV, and it's funny because we've talked to a lot of different people, and a lot of different people have like opinions on how they feel about it. What do you guys think? Do you like the fact that these like appearances are affecting the prices of books, or do you wish there wasn't really as much of a correlation?
I find the excitement really just being a collector. There was a time when we had like the Fox X-Men movies, and there's just the movies did the opposite of driving the value of prices up, right? So I'm really excited that Well,
DC still does the same thing for their books, so that's lucky.
Goodness,
Pick up your DC Comics, people. The prices on them are fantastic right now.
Yeah, definitely. But it's to see the MCU and the effect that the MCU, because that's really what's been driving prices, if anything, it's been wonderful for the collector hobby, in my opinion. The movies are good, given there are some less good than others, but the whole arc for the Avengers I thought was incredible, and just the people who are doing MCU, Kevin Feige right now, is doing an excellent job. Yeah. So
he gets it.
He gets it. You're absolutely right. He gets what drives comic book people to collect, in my opinion. And so it's bringing in a lot of new people who just may not have been interested in comic books. It pulled me back into comic books, an interest in it. So it definitely does affect the value of books. Now, one thing I'm not so happy about is the spikes that sometimes happen when new announcements come out. Yeah. We've seen just massive spikes for Star Wars books, for example. And not, we're not talking about Marvel there. We're talking about Disney Plus, but it's the one that comes to mind because, Ahsoka Tano, that book, her first appearance in Clone Wars, #1. A year ago, let's say a year and a half ago, it was a $500 book, maybe. Now it's a $3,500 book. It's unbelievable, the value of that book, and that's all because of her appearance. But what I'm thinking about specifically is she is supposed to be hunting after Grand Admiral Thrawn, and if you've read the books, you know who Thrawn is, and you're familiar with him. Not only the comic books, but also the paperbacks, which is what I grew up with, reading the paperbacks of the Heir to the Empire series specifically. Well, the day before the episode where she is announcing what her intent is, looking for Thrawn, that I bought. I was looking at eBay and I was looking at the prices of Heir to the Empire #1, and there was a 9.0 for $99. There was a 9.6 for $226. I bought both of them. There was a 9.8 for about $500. I wasn't willing to pay that much for a spec. The day after that announcement happened, the prices skyrocketed. That $99 book was all of a sudden $200. That $225 book was now $500. It's $1,600 now. And that spike is all because not people didn't recently just discover Grand Admiral Thrawn, it's because of the announcement and the potential value of that book. And that's what bothers me, the potential value that the people that are driving the price up. Because
it's not because there was a 200% increase in sales the day before.
Yes, this is true. If that potential disappears, the values of those books are going to plummet. And I fear that some of the excitement from the movies is pushing this bubble, and we're seeing interest in books that don't really have any value outside of a relationship with the movie.
Right.
And if that movie tanks, I'm thinking of, the Blade movie, or Eternals movie as a perfect example. If that movie tanks, the value of the Eternals series is just going to go right back to where it was before, which is dollar bins, quarter bins, and things like that. So
it will anyway when the trailer comes out, not in the movie.
I would posit it will anyway. Look what happened to Ms. Marvel. Look what happened to Guardians of the Galaxy. People get excited, the movie comes out and goes back down. The only movie, Deadpool, New Mutants 98 went up, New Mutants 98 went down, New Mutants 98's back up. When's the next sequel being announced? I think it got to the point of ridiculousness when, I think it was 2 years ago, 2 years ago, I was at Long Beach Comic Con and somebody had Guardians of the Galaxy 42 and 43 on their wall. First and second appearance of Fat Thor. Where I was like, really?
Oh, yeah. The whole Jane Foster stuff that happened last year, too.
So I think it depends. I think if it's the Falcon, Cap 117 will always be a blue chip book. I think Captain America #5 with First Winter Soldier, I think that's going to hold value. But, these ancillary characters, the first appearance of Cersei, I love me some Jack Kirby. I love me some Eternals. Eternals #3, $1,000 book? Guys.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's crazy. All right. So I think we've beaten the trends into the ground here. Before we go into our Beat a Geek, how about we just ended on a positive note? And what do you guys like to collect specifically? And it doesn't even have to be comics. If you want outside of the world of comics, I see some Toy Story would be very jealous of all the records you got back there.
Richard can tell you, my first love is really music. My day job is in music. I earn those. And I have so much vinyl. It's stupid. I can never listen to it all. It's just dumb.
Nice.
I'm not proud of it, but there it is. But comic book wise, I really am. I like obscure, goofy, oddball stuff. I mean, you guys see my sales. I'm like, here's my extra copies of Millie the Model. Here's my Patsy Walker Summer Fun Fashion Annual #2. I like the fact that these books have survived without a bunch of collectors grabbing them up, and that they still exist out there. I mean, Linda Carter's Student Nurse. Do you guys know what that is?
I don't know what that is.
It's a Marvel book from 1962 that ran for 10 issues, and it was canceled to make way for Amazing Spider-Man because Marvel could only have 8 titles being distributed through their distribution deal, so they had to cancel a title. And it's this book about literally Linda Carter, a student nurse, and nobody has it, nobody cares about it. I see them, I get excited. That's the kind of crap I like.
That is cool though, because there's it's nice that people are enjoying stuff that they're just purely love it, and it's not because of prices. And that is some of the cool stuff. I mean, I was into I love Masters of the Universe. I was collecting that. No one was collecting it for a while, and then the last year and a half, people are all over it again. So it is nice. Yeah.
One of the best examples, we talked about this, I think, last week. I bought 8 copies of Night Nurse back in the early 90s when no one cared. I think I got them for $4 or $5 a piece, and I thought I overpaid. $1,000 books because they just don't exist in that grade. And to complete the circle, Linda Carter, Student Nurse, ended up appearing in Night Nurse 12 years later.
See, I am going to be trounced in any trivia you can come up with. I've had variety of hobbies through my life. Like I mentioned, Magic the Gathering. I played that for a number of years. Back when Moxes and Black Lotuses and things like that were commonplace. I had a binder full of Moxes I used to buy and trade. So that is no longer a hobby of mine because it's too expensive, and I collect comics. Okay, so that tells you how expensive that is. I'm a big car guy. I've always been a big car guy. I don't own a lot of cars, but I know a lot about them. Comic books have really right now are the nostalgia of them is really driving my interest. I am a huge X-Men fan, specifically the period from the new X-Men. To me, the new X-Men is 94 to about 300. That's I've got a full run of that.
Anyone who's read the stuff before that knows it's like,
oh, it's reprints for a while there and before it and all that.
And you're being generous going up to 300.
Yeah, I know. But I am a huge John Byrne fan. I'm a huge Chris Claremont fan. So the run in that sweet spot between, I think the first one was 104, is my favorite books right now. And frankly, they're what I'm specking around right now because the attention, I always say it's Sauron's eye, is over here on Star Wars and modern books and things like that. But eventually, and I'm seeing cracks that are showing the MCU may introduce mutants, sometime in the near future.
Did we already get one?
I was going to say maybe episode 8 of WandaVision.
Yeah, that's and if you're bringing mutants in, you're bringing in the X-Men, and you're bringing because you got to get Wolverine in there. Wolverine is coming. Yeah. It's not a question if he is coming.
He's literally, and I've told my friends this 1,000 times. Marvel Comics has two big characters. Like their Batman and Superman are Wolverine and Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. That's what people pay the most money for. They're the only ones who have had like how many solo movies on their own before this Iron. I loved Iron Man as a kid. He had a great 90s cartoon. He wasn't packing people in theaters unless there was this amazing movie. Even when it first came out, it wasn't packing it in. It was word of mouth that people got into like that movie. It was just, but their money makers are those two guys. They're the best. Yeah. Their stuff's always the best in comics too.
And it's amazing too, because his early appearances, he was butt ugly. I mean, his original costume, he looked like a cat man more than
the whiskers.
Yeah, I didn't get into that. But to me, I think the foundation of his popularity is there in that John Byrne run, where he goes into space. He fights the Hellfire Club. He's there with Phoenix, and through the Dark Phoenix, all that stuff. You develop who Wolverine is, and everything after that has just been kind of, in my opinion, feeding off a lot of that character development through that period. So that's my sweet spot. That's what I love. I'm buying up extra copies of that whenever I see them because I have a feeling people are going to turn to the X-Men as soon as Wolverine is introduced into the MCU.
Have you guys gotten any of your wish list books yet? I saw the last episode. You guys put a couple of books out there.
I don't want to reveal mine. I have a line on one of my giant white whales.
Okay.
Yeah, and I actually in an auction here recently bought one of my Golden Age. It's not. I don't even consider it on my wish list because the opportunity to buy it, I never expected it to be in the price range where I would be able to afford it. Almost wasn't, but I'm going to hold off. It's supposed to be delivered tomorrow. I want to show it.
I thought it was coming today.
No, it didn't come. If it came today, I would show it off.
You guys love this. He got a deal.
I'm gonna be watching. We follow you now, Richard. So I couldn't find you before. I had to do some research.
Yeah, definitely tune into the next show because I'm getting it in. It's coming in raw. I bought it from an auction. I'm going to press it and clean it, and then flip it off to selling it, but flip it off to CGC with walkthrough. So walkthrough is an interesting process. If you've ever done any submitting books to CGC, you know, it takes forever to do anything. And the way they got their price structured, once a book gets above a certain value, you just want to pay the walkthrough because you get to the head of the line. You know, there's supposedly there is no wait. You as soon as they get the book, they'll grade it and then send it back to you. I just did a walkthrough. It actually, instead of the one day they advertised, it did take 2 days. But so I'm hoping to get that book back graded and then on the wall. So
Refund.
So yeah, I can't. None of the other books that I mentioned that are in my Grail, I've managed to secure. But I always have my eye out for that, and I'm going to say it here too because I want everyone to know I'm looking for this. I'm looking for a Love and Rockets #1 first print, high quality, high grade.
Oh, I got one of those right over here. I'm just kidding.
There's only one 9.8 on the census, and so it's definitely a hard book to find. But that's my white whale for 2021.
Very cool.
I got my top book already.
Oh, cool. What is it?
I got a 9.0 white pager 181.
Oh, 9.0. Excellent.
Yeah, it was. I could have got it for about a third of the price 5 years ago, but I didn't like the way the cover looked, so I held out. And listen, I paid a little more, but it's not something I'm looking to flip, and I still think there's value to be had out of it.
Oh, I completely agree. We're in that period of time before he shows up the MCU.
Yeah.
So now's the time. If that's your Grail, now's the time to buy it, as opposed to after he shows up.
I'm more worried about my 5-year-old daughter trying to poison me and take it. She likes looking at my stuff a little too much sometimes.
Or JJ.
What about you, JJ? What's on your list this year?
More Fun Comics 74. I'm a big Aquaman fan, so
okay.
I can't afford 73, but I think I can afford 74. So that's his second appearance. So we'll see.
Do you have an Adventure 255?
I do have that. Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
I
have.
I love that costume in that one.
I'm 5 short of because I'm trying to get the whole first volume 1 run. I'm 5 short on that. So anything with Aquaman in it, that's my goal.
I love it. That's great. We've got a friend.
That might be
diver.
That might be the first time those words were ever uttered by a human being, by the way.
Yes.
No, we say it all the time to him.
Yeah, John and I have a mutual friend who's a huge Daredevil guy, and he has been hunting this year to finish his run, and he just finished his Daredevil run with. There
you go.
Yeah, I would love to do a Fantastic Four run. I'm trying to do that, but those are some pricey books up there.
I'm 5 books away from having a complete to current Spider-Man run. Amazing.
Wow.
Great.
Wow.
I got my cap run from 100 up. I got to do my Tales of Suspense, and I'm just lazy. That's the only thing. I'll own it.
Well, one day, the hunt's part of the fun.
It is. It's actually the most of the fun. Once you actually get the book, the next one.
The 181 isn't even in reaching distance. It's already locked away with some of the other books. I was just I'll see it again in 3 months.
I don't like the fact that everything is so accessible. I mean, does that make any sense? I like going to a show and seeing it on a wall and going, "Oh, that's a decent copy," and haggling. I like the whole tactile, analog experience. I got vinyl for God's sake. So I guess it's in my DNA.
100%. I agree.
Yep.
All right, guys. Let's move on before we keep you for too long here. Although I could talk about comics with other geeks all day. All right, so we're gonna do our Beat a Geek now, fellas, with ladies and gentlemen, all you folks out there watching. So we're gonna do something different. We're gonna do John versus Richard. We're not gonna get involved because we think they'd probably kick our butts anyway. As I was setting up the questions, I was like, "Oh, these are gonna be too hard for JJ." I was like, "I'm just gonna let those two guys do it."
I got some of these. I know. I'm the old guy of the group.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me put on my spectacles here.
Oh, I'm there with you.
All right, do I need a buzzer?
No, we're gonna. So you guys are each gonna. I'm gonna ask each of you 5 questions, and if by some chance there's a tie, I have a tiebreaker at the end. So we're gonna start with Richard this time because you got to give your origin story first, John.
Okay.
All right. So Richard, the first question for you, and JJ, would you mind keeping track of these for me?
Sure.
All right. So we all know Norman Osborn appears as the Green Goblin in Amazing Spider-Man 14, but what is his first appearance as Norman Osborn?
I actually know this, and I cannot remember which issue. I know John is sitting there waiting to answer.
Well, he doesn't get this one. You're all going to get different questions, but John will be allowed to answer if you don't get it.
I can't remember.
Not even
John,
a guess?
John, do you know the answer?
I think I know-ish it.
12? Is it ASM 12?
Nope.
No.
Right before Ditko left.
Oh. No idea.
I want to say 34.
Very close. It was 37.
Okay.
So just so you guys know, some of these will be multiple choice. I'll let you know beforehand, but there's a few that you're just answer. All right.
At least I have a chance with multiple choice.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, Richard, the only reason I know that is because Ditko didn't want Norman Osborn to be the Green Goblin. That's why he left.
Oh, really?
He wanted to be a complete unknown because life is random, and Steve Ditko is a objectivist and blah 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 blah.
Very interesting character.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he didn't show up for a while after the Green Goblin thing. Yeah.
Yep. And so Stan and John Romita had to find someone in the supporting cast where it made sense, and they have this Harry's dad. Okay.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, John, your turn now.
All right.
So, which interdimensional magical character attempts to help Batman fight crime in Detective Comics 267?
Batmite.
Correct.
Yeah. How come he gets Batmite?
I know. That's an easy one.
Hey, I thought the Norman Osborn one was easy.
It is. It
I
is.
just spent too much time with Spider-Man. That's my fault.
It was either going to be Batmite, Impossible Man, or Mix it.
Yeah.
All right, Richard, back to you. Hopefully this one's more in your wheelhouse. So it's not just comic books, it's all like geek culture. So just so you know. All right. So which game cartridge was initially included with the original Atari 2600? Now this one is multiple choice. Is it A, Pac-Man, B, Pong, C, Combat, or D, Space Invaders?
It was B Pong.
Wrong.
It is not.
No?
Richard,
I own one of those.
I know. We all did. It's Combat. It came with
Combat.
It was Combat, yeah.
I thought for sure it was Space, and maybe we bought a whole bunch of games at the same time.
That wasn't his question, though, JJ.
You're just nervous, Richard. You're choking. Stop choking.
I'm choking.
John said it though.
Yeah, but he only it's only for his questions as he got so he only has one. All right. So you're gonna get another question. It's gonna be in the video game era, and this one's also multiple choice, John. What year was the Nintendo Entertainment System released in North America? Go
ahead.
Was it A, 1983, B, 1985, C, 1987, or D, 1989?
B, 1985.
That is correct. Yay! 2 for John.
Never owned a Nintendo.
It's all right.
Really?
You're doing a good job here.
Yeah, I went from the 2600 to a Radio Shack color computer.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Color computer. We all had TRS-A's with a green monochrome in the color.
All right, Richard, your next one.
Mm-hmm.
Which comic do the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles first appear in wearing different color masks?
That was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventure #1.
Correct. Excellent.
Very nice. I wouldn't have gotten that.
That one I would have known. Ooh.
I don't have that yet.
All right, John, yours next. Okay. What is the real name of the fictionalized city known as Sin City in Frank Miller's comic series? The real
Wow.
No,
You found my blind spot.
yeah,
Good job.
that was a great book.
I'm going to go with the obvious answer, Las Vegas.
No, it was called Basin City.
Oh.
Very good.
Oh.
Very good. All right. So what is it? It's 2-1. Is that right?
Yeah,
JJ?
2-1.
Okay.
Good one.
All right, Richard. I got high hopes for you on this one. This one's multiple choice. All right. In the 1988 to 1992 Superboy TV series, which villain does not appear on the show? Is it A, General Zod, B, Bizarro, C, Lex Luthor, or D, Mr. Pixie?
I'm going to say A, General Zod.
That is correct. Very good.
The best villain was Knick Knack, as played by Gilbert Gottfried.
Yes. Yes.
You got to give DC its props for their animated series.
That was live action.
This one was live, yeah.
Yeah, Superboy was live action.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
It was a good one.
So Superboy. I'm a bad Gilbert.
All right, John, your turn now. Who did not make a guest appearance on the 1990 live-action Flash series? So this is multiple choice. I'm gonna give you the actors' names, not their character names. Was it A, Adam West, B, Angela Bassett, C, Bryan Cranston, or D, George Clooney? Which one did not appear on the show?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to say D, George Clooney.
That's correct. Yeah, Bryan Cranston was actually on the show. He was the one that surprised me. I remember watching that, and I remembered Adam West and Angela Bassett.
Yeah,
You remember watching that? That was possibly the worst television.
I was also I'm a lot younger than you guys. I really enjoyed that show.
I was a John Wesley shit.
Mark Hamill was fantastic.
That was the Highlander 2 of TV shows, in my opinion.
That's the first real. I mean, think about it. I guess the Batman costume with Michael Keaton started it, but that was the first real body molded muscle.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Kind of costume that kind of looked like a superhero costume. Of course, it's the Flash. He's not supposed to be muscular.
Yeah, I was in the Gulf War when that came out. I never saw any of that.
Too. My mom taped it and sent me the tapes.
No, I didn't get that.
That and Twinkie while I was inside.
We actually we spoke to John Wesley Shipp, and he said they had to tape it, glue it to his neck. He's like, it was terrible, so it wouldn't move.
Yeah.
All right, great job. So we're back to Richard. All right, Richard, this one, I hope it's gonna be one that's fairly easy. So this one's not multiple choice, just so you know. Who are the 7 founders of Image Comics?
Jesus.
All 7 you got to give us.
There's no way I can get all 7.
I know which one you're gonna miss.
Yeah.
The one everybody misses.
Let's see. Jim Lee. What's his name? Can't draw feet.
We don't say his name on the show.
Liefeld.
Yeah.
McFarlane. Crap.
No, close.
Close. You already said him.
Oh man, I can't think of the other ones. I'm sorry. No.
You're a fan of 2 of them.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I can't. I have no idea.
Can I try?
Yes.
Larson, Eric Larson,
Okay.
Jim Valentino,
Mhm.
Okay. Never would have gotten him.
Will Spertasio,
I wouldn't have gotten him.
Jim Lee,
Yep.
Mhm.
Todd McFarlane.
Mhm.
Did I say Mark Silvestri?
No.
Nope. That's 6.
And who am I forgetting?
Feet.
Feet. Oh,
Yeah,
life.
feet.
Yeah, you haven't said life.
Yeah.
Nice job.
No, I tell you, I'm just with trivia.
No one ever guesses Jim Valentino. He's the one that
No.
always forget.
Shadowhawk.
Yeah. I should have gotten Larson. I definitely should have gotten Larson.
I know. You met him with me in
Yeah.
January.
All right. Well, I think you've taken it away here anyway, John, but we're going to give you the last question here. All right. How many issues of Miracle Man by Eclipse, their main title, were released, and who were the 3 different writers on the title?
Richard, do you want to take this one? This is you.
No.
You know the answer.
Go ahead.
Well, 19. Oh, well, okay.
From the
20
main title.
Yeah, 23 or 24? I'm going to say 23.
It's 24, isn't it?
The 24? Okay. 24. And it was Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The third one, I didn't realize there was a third one either.
Ooh, interesting. So Alan
I'll give
Moore.
you a little hint. There was only like 2 or 3 issues.
Gosh, I thought it went right from Moore to Gaiman, from the Golden Age to the Platinum Age or the Silver Age, or whatever it was called. Gosh, I don't know. You got me.
There's Mindy Newell.
Mindy Newell wrote backups. That
Yeah.
doesn't count.
She got numbers in there.
Mindy Newell.
Yeah.
She was good.
Wow.
She wrote Wonder Woman for a little bit too, when it was actually readable.
Yeah. I'm a huge Miracle Man fan from the original series.
Are you really? Do you have a lot of them?
Yes, unfortunately, because they're not worth squat right now, thanks to all the legal entanglements with the property. But I have my hopes. I bought 5 minty #1s just a few months ago, and I put them in my long storage, long box for hopefully, because Neil Gaiman said something about there was some of the issues had been cleared up. So I would take Gaiman writing it in a heartbeat. Some kind of live action or even animated.
All right.
Cool.
All right. So I think John won, right? What was the official score?
95-0 and something like that.
That was 42.
4-2. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
John is he could be a professional trivia answerer, can't you, John?
What am I supposed to say? Yes.
Yes.
Why, yes, I could, Richard. I'm awesome.
Yes. You are awesome. You are super awesome.
I'm trying to be humble.
You guys are both awesome. How about
Thank
that?
you. I'm
Thank
trying
you.
to be humble, but it's hard when you're so damn great.
I know.
This has been a lot of fun, guys. We really do appreciate you joining us, and we have to do this again. Hopefully, when the world opens up, we can all get together and go to a show. Maybe, you know, we're planning this big march on the next show. Maybe like 100 of our closest friends and that we've gathered over these last few months. You know, we used to do, like once a year we do like an out-of-state show, and there would be like 15 of us, and you know, we know a decent amount of the creators, and it'd just be a great time. Can't wait for that.
Hey, and NYCC, the next time they actually have a presence, I will be there, and we can hook up for a drink.
Absolutely, yeah, we'll get crazy.
We'll
talk comics, and you know,
I need to get back out to California. I haven't been up in California in a while. I need to get back out there.
Us snow weather people definitely benefit from being out in California.
Sorry.
Yeah.
65 and sunny today. It was awful. It was chilly. It was
why do you have your long sleeve shirt on? We don't want you to
well, thanks for having us. At least I really enjoyed it. I know John did too.
I did. I mean, me and the camera. Come on.
So we'll definitely have to do this again, guys.
Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
It was a lot of fun.
Put up how do people follow you guys right there?
Yes. There you go.
Yeah, Bronze and Modern Gods.
You got it.
New podcast every Monday.
Awesome.
Yeah, good stuff.
We give you a lot of credit. We do every other Monday. We do first and third.
We barely make it, everyone. This week record, they finished processing at 12:59 and 52 seconds. 11:59 and 52 seconds for noon premiere. The new record.
All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot again, and hope this show goes well, and everybody gets their dream wish lists.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You too.
All right. See you guys in the comments, I guess. All right. What a great talk. I love those guys. Richard and John, I could talk forever about comics and like stuff with them. I'm a sponge for comic knowledge, and they have some that I need. So we went to them for it. But
they're great. We had a fun time. I'd like to get them on the shore. I can't wait to just meet them again. Just like everybody else we talked to, just meet them, have a beer, kick back.
100%. We're definitely going to have them on again, or maybe we'll do something with them in another capacity. Who knows? The sky's the limit.
There you go.
But yeah, that's pretty much a wrap for us. We did the Geek Beat was our closing segment there. So we're just going to wrap this up by saying make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button at the bottom there. Give us the thumbs up. Again, just reiterating, if you want to leave a comment, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, let us know. We have had some people on Instagram hit us up. We do really appreciate that. I am going to give a quick shout out. I just need to double check the name so I don't get it wrong. I think it's Anything and Everything ×2. The young lady and her husband have been watching, and she commented on it, and she said we're doing a great job and to keep it up. And we really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yes, it's Anything _and_everything X2. Thank you again.
Thank you.
So if you're not following us on Instagram, we're at LI Comic Guys and at Don't Feed the Geeks podcast. And we're also on Facebook as well. So hit us up, and we appreciate the support so far. And thumbs up, comments, likes, shares, everything. All right, guys. Well, you know how it is. Until next time, remember,
Don't be the geek!